big picture thought on this NBA season. This is the first time ever we've had 4 generations going at the same time. So what does that mean? Well, if you go the guys from the 2000s, which I would call the Kobe generation, those are all the guys, their draft had to be in the 2000s. So you got LeBron, who's the oldest guy in the league, which is amazing. Curry, KD, Harden, Butler, Russ, CP3. They all belong to some sort of generation. And I guess the tie would be Kobe, right? They competed against him at least when he was still really good. Maybe some of them were on the dream team. And normally that would be this generation that had already been retired, but now with the longevity and the way that we're more of an offense league, all this stuff, the older guys can just keep going. So we have those guys. Then we have the 2010 to 2014, the international generation. All those guys came in during those drafts. Joker, Embiid, Giannis, Dame, Kawhi, PG, AD, Kyrie. They all feel like collectively part of something. It's like LeBron's already been in the league. They're coming in. They're aware of him. He's the guy. The three-point shooting starting to come in a real way. These guys, they have length, except for Dame, and I guess except for Kyrie. Shooting, playmaking. It's just this new kind of type of basketball that you can kind of really feel by, I would say, 2015-16 range, combined with the old guys. But then you have the social media generation coming in 2015 and 2019. This is SGA, Luka, Tatum, Booker, Bam, Mitchell, Brunson, Jalen, Murray, Towns. All these guys feel like they all belong together too, and they're not part of the previous generation. And you think of these guys, now it's a little more heliocentric. You got most of these guys are now ascending into being some of the best players in the league. But then we have this other generation that's coming, this space and pace generation, all guys that were rookies in 2020 or later. Ja, Halliburton, Edwards, Chet, Wemby, Paolo, Şengün, Maxey, Franz. This is the most good players we've ever had. And I think that's why as we get closer to the playoffs, this is why the season's been so much fun. This is why there's been so much variance. You can watch 2 teams play and then 2 weeks later, it's a completely different game. And just in general, I don't know where this league is going from a talent standpoint, but this is the most talent I feel like it's ever had. I always felt like 1993 was the most talent. But when you talk about those Kobe generation guys and how LeBron and Curry and KD and even Harden and Butler, those guys are still primetime dudes that are going to affect the title race. All 4 of these generation classes, basically, all might be in the final 4 in the playoffs. Like even if you go the space and pace guys, Edwards, Chet, those guys might be in the Western Finals going against each other. And this is like the newest possible generation. So I look back to like the 93 season, where is MJ the last year before baseball, when we were really loaded then. And the young guys were like, it was like Mourning and LJ and Charlotte. We had Shaq kind of feeling it out on Orlando. But it seemed really far away and inconceivable that those guys would actually be in the title picture. The space and pace generation, they're already in. And like I read this in John Schumann's column yesterday. He does a great power rankings that you should read on NBA.com every week. He said last year the Kings scored 118.6 points per 100 possessions. That was the highest mark we'd ever had in the history of the NBA. It's a big deal. Now we have 5 teams that are doing better than that. So you look at all the offense, and this goes back to what Steve Kerr said the other day when he was complaining about Jokic, where if we can't figure out how to play defense against these guys, this is just what the league's going to look like. The guys are getting smarter and smarter, getting people in foul trouble. The points are going to keep going up. But this might be inevitable. Like all those guys I listed, for the most part, are pretty great offensive players down the line. Even somebody like Brunson. Like that social media generation, SGA, Luka, Tatum, Booker, Bam, Mitchell, Brunson, Jaylen Brown, Jamal Murray, Karl Towns. That could be like the Olympic dream team, potentially. I mean, I know we have a couple foreign guys in there, but you think like Brunson, who was a second round pick, who was kind of an afterthought for the Mavs. They let him go, which is one of the dumbest decisions the last 15 years. And Brunson now, I was on a text thread the other day trying to figure out who he is offensively, and we literally couldn't figure out. It was like Earl Monroe crossed with John Lucas, a guy none of you have probably ever heard of. He was the number 1 pick in 1976. He was an awesome, crafty point guard who had a ton of cocaine problems. But Brunson's kind of an afterthought offensively because there's so many crazy things happening this year. And if you took this Brunson season and you moved it back 20 years, he would be first team All-NBA. So I don't know where we're going with the talent, but I know that it's made the power polls harder than ever to figure out.